everybody. Welcome to WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And today we are going to be a little rusty at this because it's been a while.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
I think we're going to talk about a topic that I love to wax on about, but really don't know a lot about.
Books.
And if you don't know, I used to have another channel that was dedicated to books. I was a booktuber called Digital and Vellum, and I still occasionally post on Facebook's group about it just because it's something that I still read constantly and do constantly. I just don't post videos anymore because other things have decided to take over my time.
Exactly. And it's not dead, it's just kind of...
It's on hiatus.
So, but we're going to bring that over to the Disney side today, so...
Yeah, a little bit. So, you know what you should do as well, now that I'm thinking about it, because we're live?
Yeah, what's
Grab
that?
the other dang book.
Other dang book?
The book that you borrowed from me that you were reading, the Disney book.
Oh, yeah.
You should go grab that.
Like
yes.
right this very minute?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're live.
We're live.
This is the perfect thing.
Alright, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the History Parks one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The one you said you were almost done with.
I am.
Are you done with it now? He's not done with it. Ian, the pitter-patter of your feet's adorable.
It's just about done.
I was gonna say, do you have the appropriate bookmark in there, or should we censor that?
It's absolutely nothing specific.
Okay, good. So, Disney books! We have a couple examples here. A couple different ones. And
Different varieties.
Of different varieties. And really, today we're just gonna talk about Disney books.
In general.
I can't keep stressing that enough, I guess. But really, books have been an important part of the Disney story ever since Walt created Disney.
Yes.
Just him himself, he was a book hoarder, a bibliophile, and loved reading. Yeah.
I mean...
Factual.
We're a factual program. I mean, if you think about it, some of the early works that he did were either, old folk tales, fairy tales from, different types of European culture, or even the first live-produced Disney film was Mary Poppins, which was a novel. So.
And we even talked about that when we were going through the Sherman Brothers...
Yes. Versus Mencken.
Mencken, where he handed them a book and said, make something out of this. He did that for the Jungle Book. He did that for a lot of different stories, and he's just a storyteller. And there have been times where he's worked with, and the Disney company as a whole has worked with other publishing companies.
Yes.
The first one that I found was those little golden books. Everybody grew up with those little golden books, and the first Disney little golden book was in 1944, which is saying something because the company only started in 1940.
So they jumped in
only a couple
right away.
years later, all of a sudden Disney, and even then Disney was known at that time because by then they've done Snow White.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that everybody thought, oh, Disney, stories, books, that's the thing that I want to read.
Right. And, I mean, so the first book was just a little golden book, kid's book kind of situation.
let me find the title here, because I have the title here. It was Through the Picture Frame.
Interesting.
Which I don't know the origins of that one. I've never seen that one. I don't know.
Might have been vaguely racist, who's
anything
to say.
About that one. I mean, back then, a lot of things were racist.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
But Disney got their fingers into the publishing game even that early. But how I know them primarily is through Hyperion.
Right. And they've got a couple of kind of hit things that they did.
And Hyperion actually was started in 1990 by Michael Eisner and then Mr. Miller too.
Ah, there he is.
And they started it from scratch, which I thought was interesting. They decided they were going to start a book company for Disney books without buying any backlisted stories.
Okay.
So they didn't buy from another publisher and just take over. They didn't acquire old stories under their umbrella. They started off from scratch to show off the skills and talent of the people
new people that they had working under him, basically.
Yeah,
That's
in the
interesting.
Disney company.
Which kind of is in line with the way that Disney functions. They don't jump on the celebrity bandwagon. They kind of use their own prestige to kind of pull people in and do everything. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting that they applied that to the book setup too.
But Hyperion books are not related whatsoever to the other many multiple different types of Hyperion businesses that you hear throughout Disney. So they started out on a production house on Hyperion. That was the street.
That was the Hyperion Street was the first studio that the Walt Disney Company had. And then they were out of there within not that long. So it was, but for whatever reason, they kind of remembered it. The name,
harking back to Hyperion. Yeah. Even you brought up on the My Little Toaster, or the Brave Little Toaster.
My Little Toaster.
My Little Toaster.
I love that.
My Little Pony, My Little Toaster.
My Little Toaster, it's the same thing.
It has the little star on its belly. But even there, they were bringing up Hyperion.
Yeah. And so it's continually been. I'm sure somebody's using it somewhere now in the Disney company for something. It just seems like it's one of those things that sounds cool, and it has a lot of history with Disney, so they just kind of slap it on stuff, which is kind of funny.
And one of the book series that Hyperion is well known for is the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan.
Yeah.
And that one has to do a lot with mythos. It started out with Greek mythology and then moved into Roman, and then it went into the Sorry, I'm trying to think of all the books I own. I own them all. The Kane brothers, Cain and Abel Cain.
Yeah.
And then it went to what is now the Norse mythos with the Magnus Chase books.
Gotcha. Okay.
And in there, they even have a creature called Hyperion.
Of course they do.
And I'm not sure if it really existed before then, and that's where the name all stemmed from, was a mythological beast.
Right.
But I think it's funny how even in those books, the Hyperion name pops up occasionally.
All the time, which is just, I didn't really think about it until it became a thing, and now I see it everywhere. So maybe this is just the Hyperion episode. Sorry, it's just taking a left turn on you.
But Hyperion is known for a lot of different books, and not just strictly Disney books. There are books out there about many different topics, many different things. The biggest hit or the first big hit seller thing, was
FaceTime.
a book by Tim Allen, I guess, that sold over 1.1 million copies.
That Tim Allen?
Yeah, that Tim Allen. I know. But back then in the 90s, people didn't care that he was, Tim Allen the way that we see Tim Allen now. So he did really well for Hyperion and finally got them out of the red and into an actual thriving company.
Right.
And then I think, was it 2013? It was taken over by Hachette.
Okay.
Which...
It's spelled weird.
Yes. And split off, so Disney kept all of their property that has anything to do with rides, characters, or anything that is Disney-esque.
Yeah.
And then Hachette took over all of the fiction, nonfiction that had nothing related to the Disney family whatsoever. And then the Disney family brought it under Disney Productions,
Sure.
which is where we know it now. Another book that I wanted to bring up is the book that I actually brought, which is one of my favorite book series to read when I am missing the Disney parks. And I think I've talked with you about it before, but it is The Kingdom Keepers, and the first book is Disney After Dark. This is book number 2. I borrowed book number 1 to someone, and it hasn't wandered home yet.
Bring it back. Whoever you are.
It happens. I end up buying like 50 of my books that I love. But it is a story about these kids who are taken in to be basically made holograms of themselves to talk to people in the parks. So they're the... Instead of having like character meet and greets, they have holograms of these kids that have little interactions. You can ask them questions and that sort of thing. So they were scanned and now they're holograms during the day, but at night when the kids go to sleep, all of a sudden they're whisked to the parks in their hologram bodies, and the shadows of the characters come to life in the parks overnight. So you see, Goofy strolling down one of the avenues, and all of these characters come back, and all the villains are there too, and they're trying to take over the parks because they're mad that the never created villains park was never there to show them how strong they are and everything. So these kingdom keepers, these kids in their hologram forms, are fighting and trying to keep the parks alive. And so it gives you a really interesting view of the parks. Like, they take you through the utilidors and how the garbage chutes work, and where are dead zones in like projection areas, and working with fireworks and all that other stuff.
It's all in a novel?
It's in a whole series. So the first 2 books have to do with the Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
And then they have one that goes through Epcot and MGM. Well, now, Hollywood Studios, but MGM at the time of the book.
Right.
And even a little bit into Animal Kingdom, where they're talking about one of them dresses up like the vine lady who never stops moving on those stilts.
Yeah.
And so she has to pretend to be her and all this other stuff. And it's a really fun series. So I read it when I am missing the parks, because it reminds you, and you're like, oh, I've been there at night. I know what that's like, or I remember that path, or I didn't know that direction went there.
Right.
And so it really harkens back to, even here, you can see the Tinkerbell rope.
Oh, funny.
From the fireworks show.
Thing.
If you can see it.
Like the kid is
the kid's on the harness strap for Tinkerbell coming down from the castle.
That's funny.
Because Maleficent's up there. Sorry, spoilers.
Wow.
But it's a really good series that helps me keep the magic going, even when I am not having any park trips planned, and helps me reconnect. The one that I'm on right now is the second part of the cruise ship, where they get into the Disney Cruise Line.
Oh, wow.
And they talk about Castaway Cay,
of course,
which is Disney's island,
right.
and all of that other stuff. So
that's fun.
It's really fun. They also have a lot of books in regards to the history of Disney, Walt Disney himself, the history of the parks. They're the same publishing company that does like the posters, the booklet of the posters, and vintage things. And really, Hyperion is the place to go if you are looking for any Disney publication. Now, the reason I wanted you to grab that book was because I wanted to see who the publishing company was for that.
Theme Park Press.
I think this one is an independent. I got this one on Amazon, and it's a historical tour of Walt Disney World. This one goes through the Magic Kingdom, and it brings you through a couple of the different rides and things going on.
And the thing that's interesting about this one, since I've been reading it, is it takes a look at it from like, this is what you're seeing in the park. This is how it actually would have been in a historical context. So it's not as much history of the park as it is history that the park portrays and how it relates back. And they do talk about the background of the rides and some of that too, but it's very interesting because they make those comparisons. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean, they break down, how much of this is how it would have looked and how much of this...
How much of this is really a pirate?
It gets very petty. Like,
I want the redhead. Gives me the redhead.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Bitter. Moving on.
That's episode 1, Crystal. We're on 28. But anyway, the gets the petty to the point of, like, he was complaining about the fact that Barbossa was on top of the ship as you come through.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that they changed the ride.
He was complaining. Well, the thing that he complained about was, and even before the captain was on top of the, they had that whole thing set up. He complains about it, though, because it wouldn't have been the captain. It would have been like a first mate or some sort of quartermaster, somebody that would have been, I don't remember, I read it about 3 weeks ago, so I don't remember which one it was, but it would have been that person up on top of the thing, and the captain would have been somewhere else, or the captain would have been on the advance party. Like, the captain would not have been up there calling shots. So, just, that's the kind, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, that's what this is. So
yeah, this one has a whole series as well. This book covers the Jungle Cruise, the Tiki Room, Carousel of Progress, Main Street USA, Tomorrowland, Crystal Palace, and then Pirates of the Caribbean. So it gives you a good variety of the classics, the things that Disney had input in, touched, and really left his mark on, versus some of the other stuff that he did not, because it was after him.
Right. So it's a very interesting read for sure. I thought it was very fun. But yeah, independent for sure. Not a Disney, because he's occasionally critical, so probably not Disney.
What?
Right?
Disney didn't want to put that under their publication. Go figure.
Right.
But what books have you read? Are they Hyperion? I really want to know for what Disney books you've read, if they're Hyperion or not.
Right.
It's shocking how often I'm looking at things like the art books that I have for Disney.
Right.
Those are Hyperion, or the Disney Productions, which is what's taken over after Hyperion when they split.
Right.
But there's a lot of books out there. Anything that you touch that's Disney,
it's,
potentially could be Hyperion.
Or Little Golden Book.
Or Little Golden Book. Little Golden Book has so much.
Disney is a little all over the map in terms of that sort of thing.
But you saw, even when we were in Disney, I picked up a book that says everything I needed to learn, I learned from Disney's Little Golden Books.
It's a great one.
You flip through it, and what they did, and I should have brought it, was the old art from all of those Little Golden Books, from each story, they put back into that book. So you can see the different artistic styles, you can see the different storylines. It's not full stories, but they talk about the individual characters all the way up through modern Little Golden Books, because they're still making Little Golden Books. So it's really neat to see the different stylistic interpretations of movies, characters, and all of that jazz.
Indeed. Yeah.
Indeed.
So anyway, so that's kind of our warming back up into the swing of things again.
Books! What books have you read? What are your favorite Disney books? Do you like The Kingdom Keepers? Because I do. You should check them out and tell me how you think. What you think? They're cool.
I have to still read them, so I'll have to do that, and I'll get back to you on that.
I bet you're going to come back to me and be like, I didn't know they could do this.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm a nerd. What can I say? This is my thing.
As am I. We're Disney nerds, which is why we do this.
Exactly.
But on that note, thank you so much for listening and watching. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And I hope you guys have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.